The moment Amanda raised that glass, I already knew the knife was halfway in. To 2024, when we let go of what's no longer working, she said, all teeth and venom, her dead eyes locked on mine like a sniper picking a target in heels. And then she added it, the line that turned the room cold. Layoffs for anyone feeling irreplaceable. There was a chuckle, not laughter, a chuckle, that corporate kind people do when they're too scared not to laugh. I didn't laugh, didn't blink. I just stared at her, one hand around a sweating glass of Prosecco, the other under the table, holding the flash drive. It was in that moment I decided I wouldn't go quietly. Nobody in that room knew I had already rented a P.O. box under a new LLC name. Nobody knew I had Glimmertech's CTO whispering sweet frustrations in my inbox. And nobody, especially not Amanda from HR with a minor in backstepping, knew I had the audit logs, time-stamped, watermarked, and printed. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. 2 months before the party, I found a post-it note on my desk that didn't belong to me. Beige square black pen, Amanda's handwriting, recognizable because she loops her F's like a sociopath. It said, reduce headcount ops lead, confirm with R before NY. R is Ryan, the CEO, my old mentor, man who once toasted me at a retreat and called me the spine of this company. Apparently, I had scoliosis now. I didn't confront Amanda. That's the thing about women like me. We don't scream in open plan offices or send all caps emails with subject lines like WTF. We watch, we collect, we build our arc quietly, while everyone else argues over who gets the last conference room. 3 weeks later, the janitor, Sweet Lewis, always humming Elvis tunes, accidentally left the door to the HR storage room open. Inside, boxes of labeled file folders. One of them, Operation Frostbite. Inside it, a printout of my Slack messages with the CFO, my salary history, a mock-up of my exit memo. Exit memo, they were planning my funeral while I was still signing invoices. I didn't cry, I made a call. Rochelle, our former director of client development, fired in September due to restructuring, answered on the second ring. Is it go time? She asked. Almost, I said. I just need one more signature. She whistled. You're cold. I'm focused, I replied. I wasn't lying. What Amanda didn't know, what none of them knew, was that while they were busy assembling a firing squad in stilettos, I'd been quietly poaching our own clients with the kind of precision you normally reserve for brain surgery or nuclear sabotage. I wasn't stealing, I was rescuing. And then came the night of the party. Red velvet tablecloths, bite-sized food, polite music. The kind of party that tries too hard to say we're a family while gutting you with a serrated edge under the mistletoe. I knew what Amanda was doing. The toast wasn't just petty, it was a test. She wanted to see if I'd flinch. I didn't. I raised my glass, I smiled, and beneath the table, I pressed send on the DocuSign contract to Glimmertech. 12-month exclusive. 7 figures. Signed at exactly 8:02 p.m., while Amanda still held her damn glass in the air. They didn't see the war coming, but I brought it anyway. The next morning, while Amanda was likely still nursing a hangover in her condo filled with minimalist betrayal and white orchids named after ex-coworkers, I was watching the ink dry, metaphorically. Glimmertech contract sat in my inbox, signed, time-stamped, legally binding, and deliciously explosive. I didn't go into the office. I didn't have to. Instead, I went somewhere better. Suite 4B above an old dentist's office where the elevator always sighed like it knew something. The air reeked of fluoride and rebellion. That's where we set up, me, Rochelle, and Danny, our ex-creative lead who once cried in the stairwell when Amanda told her design is optional. Now, Danny was rebranding Glimmertech's entire digital footprint from our beige war bunker, while Rochelle ran ops like she'd been waiting for this moment since the day she was told to smile more during a quarterly review. I took off my coat, made myself coffee in a chipped mug that said #1dad, we didn't have real ones yet, and opened Slack. Not our Slack. Theirs, because when they pushed me out, they forgot I built the IT onboarding. My access didn't vanish. Kill switch, still mine. I typed 2 words in the ops channel, good luck, just that, no emoji, no context. The messages poured in like blood out of a cracked pipe. Did anyone else see that? WTF was that? Is Claire still on this workspace? She's gone, right? Can someone ping Amanda? Oh, I was gone, all right. Gone like a magician mid-vanish, except I took their rabbit and half the damn deck with me. Amanda finally replied, please remove Claire's access immediately. This is unacceptable. To which the CTO, bless him, responded, she still has admin rights. Who set that up? I grinned. I had months ago. During the Slack optimization week, I volunteered to run when everyone else was too busy arguing about fonts for the new logo. I gave myself backdoor admin access and logged the whole thing under user streamlining for cross-functional support. Corporate speak is a hell of a silencer. And then, oh then, best message dropped from Ryan, the CEO, the man who once told me your brain is a Swiss Army knife and then forgot he handed me the blades. Did we just lose Glimmertech? Silence. I could almost hear Amanda blinking into the void. Then she typed, I have a call with their PM today at 10. It's just a formality. I forwarded the Glimmertech contract to Ryan's inbox at 9:57. No subject, no body, just the PDF. Minutes later, Rochelle called me, laughing so hard she nearly dropped her coffee. Ryan just posted in #exec only. Who the hell is Venture Partners? That's us, that's me. The name I filed 3 months ago while sitting in my car outside their quarterly town hall, listening to Amanda pitch lean innovation with the same voice you'd use to describe a root canal. Venture partners with 2 N-S. Because sometimes you need a little extra nerve. And trust me, this wasn't personal, yet. Ryan didn't call. He didn't email. He didn't even send one of those limp LinkedIn messages with 3 periods and a guilt trip. No, he did what cowards with titles do. He summoned Amanda. And Amanda, she did what snakes in heels do best. She tried to spin it. At 11:14 a.m., my burner number lit up. Unknown ID. I let it ring once, then picked up. Claire, she started, syrupy sweet. Like we were brunch buddies instead of professional enemies locked in a slow-motion detonation. This is unexpected. Is it? I said, because the post-it you left on my desk said otherwise. Silence, she took a breath. I could hear her forcing her mouth into a smile, the sound of someone trying to chew glass politely. Look, she said, we're all under a lot of pressure. This isn't the time for grudges. Amanda, I cut in, this isn't a grudge, this is chess. Another pause. Then you signed Glimmer Tech behind our backs? I didn't sign behind your backs. I signed in front of your blind spots. Her voice dropped. Cold now, corporate ice. You've made a mistake, Ryan's furious. Legal's involved. Then they should read the fine print, I said. Glimmer Tech terminated your agreement 2 weeks ago. Clause 14B, you were late on 3 deliverables. I simply offered them oxygen. You think you're smart, she hissed. No, I said. I know I'm not stupid. There's a difference. She hung up. 10 minutes later, Danny spun around in her swivel chair like a discount Bond villain. Check your email. I opened my laptop. There it was, a cease and desist from them. Danny laughed so hard she choked on a peanut M&M. Cease and desist what? She said, being better at their job. I forwarded it to Rochelle. She replied in under a minute, print it, frame it, motivation wall. But here's where things got fun. That afternoon, we got a tip. It came from someone still inside, a ghost in their machine. Let's call her Marla. Marla had been looped into a meeting she wasn't meant to see, one where Amanda, Ryan, and the legal team were discussing a containment strategy. Their plan? Leak a factually loose press release implying that we had stolen proprietary data during our exit. Cute. Except Marla recorded the whole call and sent us the file. At 4:06 p.m., I uploaded the audio, distorted just enough to anonymize her, into a private Google Drive and sent the link to a journalist I'd met at a tech ethics panel last year. A journalist who'd once whispered over wine, if you ever burn the place down, call me first. I called. She picked up. Oh my God, she whispered after 5 minutes. They're trying to destroy you. No, I said. They're trying to discredit me. You want this public? She asked. Not yet, I said. Let's see if they blink. Because war isn't won in the first strike. It's one when the other side tries to hit back and punches themselves in the throat. Amanda blinked. By morning, their legal team had walked back the cease and desist. No apology, just corporate cowardice in PDF form. Upon further review, the matter appears to be a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding, my ass. That was the kind of legal phrasing you use when you're standing on a landmine and praying the person holding the detonators in a good mood. The detonator in this case was me. Still, I didn't press the button. Not yet. I wanted them to sweat. So while they scrambled to plug PR holes with duct tape and prayer, I took Rochelle and Danny to lunch. Real lunch. Sit down. Cloth napkins. A bottle of red that tasted like every HR compliance meeting I'd ever survived. Dry, aggressive, and ultimately worth it. You know, Danny said, swirling her glass, if they'd just promoted you when they had the chance, none of this would have happened. I smiled. They didn't want a woman at the helm. They wanted a mascot with ovaries. Rochelle leaned in. You ever gonna tell them about the second contract? My smile grew sharper. Not yet. Because while Glimmer Tech was the headline, the real nuke was still ticking quietly in my inbox. 4 days earlier, an old client of ours, Beacon Watt, massive energy firm, notoriously allergic to change, had reached out to me privately. Said they were reconsidering their current vendor. Said they were impressed by the direction venture seems to be taking. Said the phrase that made me lean forward in my chair, we'd prefer to work with someone who doesn't insult our intelligence. They were this close. And if I could land Beacon Watt, it would mean venture wasn't just a clever little rebellion. Would be legit, bulletproof. But I needed leverage, proof that we weren't just a revenge startup. I needed to show them we could run leaner, smarter, faster. So I baited the hook. I leaked a deck, not the full one, just enough slides to tease what we were building. I posted it under a burner Medium account titled How Legacy Firms Get Left Behind. I seeded it into 2 Slack communities, 1 subreddit, and a whispered chain of junior PMs I'd trained during my years in corporate exile. The thing went viral. By the next morning, we had 4 new meeting requests, 2 from startups and 1 from an investor who used to ignore my emails until I got a new signature. But the fourth was from Ryan. Private, no assistant, no subject line. Just meet me off the record. 1 drink, your call. I stared at the email for a full minute, and I typed, tonight, Minetta Tavern, corner booth, 7:30. I didn't ask Danny or Rochelle. I didn't need advice. I needed to see what a man looks like when he realizes the woman he mentored built the fire that's now licking at his legacy. And maybe, just maybe, I'd let him watch it burn. Minetta Tavern was too classy for what I had planned, but that was the point. I wanted him uncomfortable. Expensive discomfort in a dim-lit booth. Kind that makes men sweat through their starch while pretending they still own the room. I got there 10 minutes early. Ordered a Manhattan, neat, no cherry. I wanted it bitter. He arrived 6 minutes late, no tie, trying for casual but reeking of desperation, cologne, and boardroom anxiety. Claire, he said, sliding in across from me like we were old war buddies instead of battlefield survivors on opposite hills. Ryan, I said, setting my drink down. You look like someone just told you your stock options have opinions now. He cracked a smile. Thin, calculated, I didn't come to fight. No, you came to beg without making it look like begging, I said. Shall we skip the appetizers? He didn't like that. You could always tell with Ryan, his poker face had a tell. He tugged the cuff of his sleeve like he could adjust his mood with his shirt. He did it then. I noted it. I'm not here to defend Amanda, he said. Good. I replied, because she's indefensible. He looked around, lowered his voice. She's made miscalculations. Miscalculations? I leaned in. She tried to assassinate my career in broad daylight. The only reason I didn't bury your entire leadership team in court filings was because I was too busy winning. He sighed, rubbed his temples, the board's furious. They should be, I said. You lost your flagship client, and your credibility. Ryan stared at me like I'd turned into something unfamiliar, something sharp, and he wasn't wrong. The Claire he remembered, the Claire he'd mentored, would have melted under this kind of pressure. But that Claire died somewhere between Amanda's post-it note and the moment I inked Glimmer Tech over truffle risotto. I want to make a proposal, he said finally. Here it came. He slid a folded piece of paper across the table. Handwritten, very old school for a man who once bragged about automating his grocery list. I opened it. Acquisition offer, 7 figures. Venture absorbed back into the fold. Full exec status. Creative autonomy. PR cleanup included. I looked at it. Then I laughed, not politely, not professionally. I laughed like someone who'd finally stopped biting her tongue. Ryan, I said, folding it neatly and tucking it under my glass, this isn't an offer. This is a panic fart dressed up as opportunity. You're being emotional, he said. Wrong word. Don't, I warned. Don't ever tell a woman she's emotional while she's outperforming your entire C-suite with 2 laptops and a coffee pot from 2006. He sat back, clearly stunned. You made your choice, I said. You backed Amanda. You tried to erase me, and now you want to buy me back like a bad hire? His jaw tensed. So that's it? Oh, it's far from it, I said. You haven't even seen the second detonation. He blinked. What second? My phone buzzed. I picked it up. A single message, 1 word, from Rochelle Beacon Watt. Signed, sealed, wired. I stood up, tossed 100 on the table. That was the sound of your board chair losing their weekend. Ryan looked up at me, pale now, the color draining from his ambition. You just handed your biggest clients to a woman you tried to delete. And then I leaned down, close enough for him to smell the win. I'm not coming back, Ryan. I'm building something you can't buy. I left him there, alone, with his drink, and his dying relevance. By sunrise, they'd spun up a fake press release claiming Beacon Watt had renewed their collaboration with the firm, which was impressive, considering the ink on their termination notice hadn't even dried yet. I saw it on LinkedIn first. Amanda shared it with that same smug half-smile she always used in company photos, the one that said I killed a dream today and still had time for pillates. I didn't respond. I didn't have to, because 3 hours later, Beacon Watt CEO posted his own announcement. Proud to begin a new partnership with venture partners. Efficiency, innovation, integrity. Let's go. He tagged me, directly. Amanda's post disappeared 30 minutes later. Rochelle messaged our Slack, and the Oscar for Best Digital Faceplint goes to Danny, followed with a meme. A flaming dumpster on a corporate Zoom background. Caption, meanwhile at the old office. It should have felt like victory. Confetti, champagne, applause, but what it really felt like, what it was an opening. A rupture. Because suddenly Venture wasn't just the team Amanda discarded. We were a threat. And that's when the emails started. Not from Ryan. Not even from Amanda. From people below them. Middle managers, junior analysts, old interns. People I'd trained, mentored, fought beside during software crashes and client meltdowns and end-of-quarter chaos. They were reaching out, quietly, carefully. Claire, are you hiring? Claire, I have an NDA, but I need to talk. Claire, I found something you should see. It started as a trickle, then a downpour. One of them sent me a spreadsheet Amanda had marked internal, only do not share. Inside, a list of employees flagged for potential performance issues. Except there were performance scores next to every name, all of them high. One note next to a woman in finance said, pregnant, will impact Q3 output. Another next to a young designer, too vocal on DEI board. Risk, and the worst, one next to a man with Parkinson's. Team morale concern? I felt sick. But I also felt clear. Amanda hadn't just fired us. She'd systemized cruelty. She didn't cut costs, she cut people. Quietly, strategically, cruelly. Rochelle called me that night. You see the spreadsheet? I did. What do we do? I looked at the screen, at the names, the people I'd worked with, laughed with, held together during all-nighters with bad Chinese food and worse deadlines. We publish it, I said. Danny's voice cut in over speaker. You sure? No, I said. But I'm done being careful, because this wasn't just about payback anymore. This was about truth, exposure, and the woman who once whispered in my ear play the long game was about to find out I'd been playing it the whole time. We didn't leak it to the press, not right away. That's how Amanda expected we'd play it, blow it up in public, let them deny everything, bury it under jargon and lawyer fog. No, we went straight to the shareholders. Specifically, 2 who'd always side-eyed Amanda's meteoric rise. the ones Ryan kept off the flashy panels but still sent quarterly reports to with a trembling hand. Rochelle drafted the email. Clinical, precise, no fireworks, just the spreadsheet, the context, and a subject line that read, regarding Amanda Lee's executive decision framework confidential. We sent it at 10:02 a.m. By 10:37, one of the shareholders had forwarded it to the full board. By 11 o'clock, Amanda's calendar was locked. She was unavailable for meetings. At 11:08, someone from internal IT tried to revoke our old logins, but Danny had already scraped the backup of Amanda's private Slack channel, the one where she and Ryan joked about cleansing departments like it was a spa day. At 11:16, we sent that file. The subject line, tone at the top. And then we waited. It didn't take long. At 1:04 p.m., an anonymous tipster posted a screenshot on Reddit. Amanda's photo. An HR memo. One line bolded, effective immediately, Amanda Lee is no longer with the company. The comments exploded. Wait, this the same Amanda who gave that We're a Family talk last quarter? Karma's got an espresso shot today. Anyone got the full story? No one did. Not yet, but they would. At 3:15 p.m., the journalist I'd sent the audio recording to texted me a link. Toxic HR tactics at Fortune 500. Leaked docs reveal firing pregnant workers, silencing advocates. The article didn't name me, or Danny, or Rochelle, but it quoted the spreadsheet, the Slack logs, and a source close to the situation made it very clear this wasn't a whistleblow, it was a reckoning. That night, Ryan finally broke the silence. He emailed me. Short, almost pitiful, congratulations, you won. I didn't reply, because it wasn't about winning anymore. This was about finishing it. The next morning, Rochelle and I walked into a shared workspace we could finally afford to decorate. Real desks, real chairs, a cheap neon sign that said Build Louder hung over the coffee bar. There was a line of applicants outside the door. And somewhere, in a boardroom now smelling of panic and vanilla hand sanitizer, Ryan was trying to explain how a woman he once called non-essential now ran the firm, taking everything from his. Poetically, deliciously, mercilessly. And we were just getting started. It ended on a Thursday. Not with a bang, not even with a headline, but with a calendar invite. Subject, executive transition debrief from Ryan Hart to board at all the body just read. Agenda, contingency planning, legacy account migration, and damage mitigation. I read it over my morning espresso, sunlight catching on our new glass door where we'd finally scraped off the last tenant's vinyl lettering. Tax Prep Express was gone. Now it read, Venture, 2 ends, all spine. Across from me, Danny was updating our website's client page, Beacon Watt. Glimmer Tech. 3 new names I couldn't legally announce yet but could barely keep from shouting out loud. Rochelle was in a call with a VC who used to hang up on her when she still had the old firm's email domain. And me? I was writing a proposal to buy one of our former departments. Yep, they spun it off. Tried to sell it in pieces when the board realized Amanda hadn't just poisoned morale, she'd hollowed out their infrastructure and stuffed it with buzzwords. Now they needed a bailout from me. I offered half their asking price, all cash, immediate turnover, full control. They accepted within 48 hours. Poetic, really. Like Amanda once said during a team-building retreat, what goes around comes around, usually in heels. Except this time, it came around in a sensible blazer, holding receipts and a vengeance spreadsheet. I didn't attend their final quarterly meeting, but someone recorded it, sent it to me. Ryan looked tired, smaller, like a man who had finally noticed the trapdoor under his legacy had been open the whole time. Tried to end with dignity. This isn't a failure, he said, it's a pivot. Someone snorted, Amanda wasn't there. Her LinkedIn now listed her as a transformation consultant. No profile photo, no posts, just a ghost in business casual. Last week she messaged me. One line, hope there's no hard feelings. I didn't respond, because there weren't hard feelings. There were earned consequences. You can't fire people like they're junk mail and expect silence. You can't cut down women mid-sentence and expect they won't rewrite the narrative. We didn't just survive, we replaced them. Now our inbox pings hourly with resumes from people still trapped in broken firms run by broken men quoting broken mantras like do more with less. We did more with nothing. We built a firm on ash, on doubt, on underestimation. And now they call us for partnerships, for leadership panels, for keynote addresses on resilience and innovation. We smile, we thank them, and we remember, because every empire that ever laughed at a woman they underestimated eventually signs her contract. Thanks for joining the revenge party, you wise rebels. Subscribe for more tales. Let's keep the office gossip hotter than a fresh pot.